and full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow in Pit Lane's weekly Tuesday night get together, where we talk all things motorsport and a little bit more when the mood does strike us. Tonight we got a cast of thousands tonight, more stars than there are in heaven. We're going to talk about the Japanese Grand Prix a little bit later on. Max Verstappen, just how good is he? I mean, this is a car that's supposedly undrivable, but he didn't seem to have too many problems. And also, did McLaren stuff up the strategy yet again by not allowing Oscar Piastri pass to try and chase down Max? Christian Horner said yes. He thought it was a silly manoeuvre, but anyway, that's something that they came up with. But also, first of all, tonight on the program, we're going to welcome the crew. We're also going to welcome a special guest tonight as well. So joining us once again, we've got Craig Doc Gladigo is joining us. Mark Jones all the way from Queensland. Richard Outram is joining us as well. Pete Johnson. And the man in the corner from the Pakenham Auto Club, who we've got something very special on the way that we'll talk about in just a moment, is Anthony Franks. Anthony, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Brett. Thanks for having us tonight. Good to be here.
Now, let's start off there, because if you're in Melbourne, I mean, everybody in Melbourne, at the moment you say, like Easter's coming up, there's a couple of things you think of. One of them is, the Stortall Easter gift, and the other one is the Royal Children's Hospital Good Friday appeal. Now, the Pakenham Auto Club, who have done a lot of sort of community stuff over the years, they're one of the more sort of proactive car clubs in Australia in terms of getting involved in the wider community. Now, you guys have got something coming up at your home ground out at Pakenham. Tell us exactly what you're doing first of all.
Yeah, so we've been formed in 1972. We've been heavily involved in the community base from that date. We do a wide variety of motorsport events, which has competitors from pretty much every form of motorsport, like carnacross, motorcarnas, autocross, hill climbs, circuit racing and rally. And what we do is we support the community by offering all that grassroots stuff to all our members. And in particular, we run a pretty impressive junior development program, which sort of targets kids between 12 and 17. And through that extension of that junior development program, we also like to support the community broadly. And one of the events we're doing, which we haven't really done this before, but it's sort of a first for us and a bit of a one of a kind. We're doing a full event at our club grounds where we're doing car displays. Obviously, there'll be like market stalls, barbecues, raffles. There'll be a hands-on display by the SES, but more importantly, there'll be like passenger rides in a motorsport vehicle for the general public. In particular, the juniors that can come in and get a bit of a taste of what they could potentially come to the club and participate in. Obviously, all the proceeds from this event is going to be directly handed to the Royal Children's Hospital appeal. And obviously, because we're trying to really get behind this this cause, where we're trying to call on the broader community, not just from the Pakenham area, but from Melbourne in general, to come down and get involved. Any of the current Pakenham Car Club members, we need drivers and car owners to bring their cars and to help make the event a success.
Because you've also got like something of a car show, I suppose, there as well. So, are you looking like for any of the viewers out there, particularly here in Melbourne, from car clubs who might be in the area of the outer eastern suburbs, and they perhaps, if they want to sort of bring a car down, put on display, perhaps a race car or something, or even a custom street car or something, would
Absolutely.
you be interested in that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, custom cars, classics, any motorsport vehicle of any description, any rally vehicles, any motorsport themed car, and any classic car that would aid or lift the event. For sure, we're absolutely open to that. They can get in contact with the club through our website or through the Facebook page and sort of register their interest.
Now, I understand you
What
need
about
officials as
motorbikes?
well. Oh, yeah, what about bikes?
I'm not too sure with the bikes because we are a car club. I think if it's something probably of a classic nature or something a bit different, yeah, sure. I don't see why that would be a problem.
Would you make an exception for a 998 Ducati, Anthony?
Look, that is as long as it's a red one.
No, it's even rarer than a red one. So anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Uh,
So, like, if anyone is interested in bringing their kids down or yourself to come down and go for a ride in a motorsport vehicle around our track, the tickets are just $10. They're available from Humanix, which is like a Ticketek, but it's like a non-for-profit ticketing um, outlet. You can get on the internet and find them on there. There will be rides available, tickets on the day. However, I would encourage everyone to buy them online because we have capped it at 300 for the day.
Well, if you look at it at the basically at the it's at $10. I mean, it's 300 for the day. I mean, it's a good whack for the kids at the Royal Children's Hospital appeal.
100%.
Now, I understand also that you talk about your ground out there. There was all the talk, of course, of what was happening out at Pakenham and all the grand plans and things that were we were going to have Shangri-La was out there. It was going to be out there, but ultimately, I mean, when all that sort of fell through, you guys sort of got forgotten about a bit. But it looks like that things are finally happening out there in terms of some more sensible and more practical improvements to the grounds out there.
Yeah, like most motorsport stuff, we've been moved a couple of times through the journey. Where we're currently at 21 Key Lane now, we've got about 34 acres we're currently on. So we run a full motor Kana track, Kana Cross, and we're currently partnering with Land Track at the moment. This hasn't really been publicised yet, so this is kind of a first for you guys on your show. Not that there's a tent for motorsport or anything, but it's a bit of a coup for us. And we're working on a twin track autocross facility that is going to probably be the only autocross track within Melbourne Metro. So once we get it up and running, it will be definitely a mecca for us grassroots guys.
And that twin track autocross thing is very, very big in America. It's for people who don't know. It's a bit like drag racing with lots of turns. The cars run off against each other, but they go around sort of. So you do have competition there, but they're not sharing the same bit of track. And it's not just sort of you can run it in a couple of ways. You can run them together, or you can run one and the moment the other car finishes, somebody can go off in the other track. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, doesn't it?
It's a very interesting format because you can technically race against another car without being on the same track. So you still adhere to all the guidelines that Motorsport Australia put on you for single track use of the car. Yeah.
Okay, so if people want to come around, as you mentioned the website, could you give us what is the address of the website so people?
So if people want to get directly involved in the charity event for the Royal Children's Hospital, best head over to Pakenham Auto Club, all one word, .org.au/charity event. It's a bit of a mouthful, so that's Pakenham Auto Club, all one word, .org.au/charity event. If you go to our webpage, I'm sure there'll be links to that event. You can also check on our Facebook page.
Yeah, and as I said, any car clubs out there, if your cars, I know that our friend Declan Kirkham is coming out with he's based up at Pakenham with Virgil Motorsport. He's up there. He's going to bring out one of his cars, one of the Polestars, I would imagine. And if you've got a car, if you're out in this area and you want to sort of, just take it out for the day and just put it on display, I mean, it's just going to cost you some time and a bit of petrol to get there, but that's about all. And it's contributing to a great cause, and it would really be a great thing because hopefully the weather will be great, and it sounds like a really fun day.
Yeah, that should be good. Like both young and old will be able to get their motorsport fix from all the static displays, and then the kids will also be able to get their fix by having a drive in a close to a full-fledged motorsport car as you can.
Okay, well that's coming up on Good Friday out at Pakenham. What's the address out there? If people
Yep.
need to go to it.
Yeah,
There.
number 21 at Key Lane in Pakenham. Just off
Num-
McGregor Road, you come off the freeway, you turn off the McGregor Road exit, turn right, drive it out 800 metres, and it's on your right.
Yep, pretty easy to find.
Very,
Well, good luck
very
with
easy.
it. Good luck with it, Anthony. And as I said, like if you're out there, we'll certainly give it another plug next week
Fantastic.
as well, and obviously put it on the Facebook page and everything. If there's anything else that you need, by all means, please let us know, because it'd be great to see. I know that the HQ guys used to do something out at Calder for the Children's Hospital appeal, which was very successful many years ago. Went out and we did a story on that. God, that was that was probably 20 or more years ago now, but
Yeah, right.
back in the dark days of the Thunderdome. But that was very, very successful, and it would be great to see motorsport making a contribution as well, because we know everybody does. I mean, all the footy clubs, all the fire brigades, all of the pubs, basically everybody throws in. It's sort of it's sort of a Victorian tradition that sort of like no matter no matter what the economic situation seems to be, they always seem to get record amounts every year, and people just bend over backwards to
Yep.
get some money for the hospital appeal.
What
Two
time? Could you bring up that graphic again, just for the time for us, please, Brett, if you could, so we can
Yes, I
give
will
it
put
one
that up.
last, so give it third time lucky look for the people out there. There you go. It's
Yep, 10
gives
a.m.
yourself
Good,
a 10
nice,
bucks and
sensible starting time.
10
Yeah,
a.m. exactly.
I think they were trying to bribe me because they put that's actually my son's car flinging around there. So I think they tried
Oh,
to butter me
that's a
on the flight.
donation. That's a donation into the swear jar, isn't it, Anthony?
Yeah, something like that. Absolutely. But yeah, look, Victorian's got a very strong history of supporting the Royal Children's Hospital, so I expect this year to be no different.
Oh, I might have to
I
come
think
out. I might have to rock out, even if I don't bring a vehicle out. Anthony, come out there and just hang out with you guys and
no, that'd be great.
yell to the hills with you, and you can sort of just. Yeah, we've got one of the in-pit lane guys out here with us, and I can spruik it up a bit.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
obviously Doc's fairly close by, so Richard's not that far away. Richard is the Hyundai in any fit state to be transported out there, or is it still in
Had I
a
known
thousand
about
bits
it, I
and
wouldn't rip.
pieces?
Had I known about it, I wouldn't have ripped the motor out.
What do you need that for? We'll push you
All right, we'll
around.
take static displays.
Yeah,
Bring it out.
well, it's good. If you
Yeah,
can't start it up, and
we'll just open
yeah,
up that spot in the floor, stick your feet through, and you can Fred Flintstone
yes,
it down to the.
yeah. Whoa.
I've got a spare motor or two lying around here, Richard. I could drop in for you.
Yeah.
What would you like? A 302, a 4 litre a double overhead cam? What would you like?
How
Oh,
about
4 litre
that
double
four?
overhead cab. Yeah, thank you. No,
How about that
no.
4 litre
Okay.
turbo V8 Volkswagen engine in that Bentley behind you there, Doc?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Jonesy. I do appreciate that. And Anthony, we will get onto that subject. There's a bit of few rumours going about that, but Brett and I were lucky enough to be invited as part of the media throng at the Melbourne Motor Show. But we won't talk about that for the moment. We've got Anthony on here at the moment, and I just want to shout out to Ben Rawson as well too, Anthony, who's probably a good friend of yours and a compatriot of the club down there. He joined us. He was down at the Geelong Motorsport Festival late last year, and Brett and I are regulars down there and love going there for the bikes and the cars. And Ben had his, I think he's got his 13B engine in that Formula Ford or Formula V he's got down there, and
Yeah, it was a
yeah,
crazy bit of kit.
He's a great supporter of the club.
yeah, and he did an interview with us and thoroughly enthusiastic about it, and has been a long-time friend on social media of mine, supporter of me, and always giving me the thumbs up about the stuff we do. So, hope Ben will be on deck, will he, on that weekend,
I
Anthony?
believe he will. I can't speak for him, but I think he'll be there for sure.
that'd be great. We
We
can
might
catch
just
up
have
with
to
him.
check with him.
Good
Okay,
stuff.
well, as I said, good luck with that, and congratulations once again to the Pakenham Auto Club. As I said, they really do a lot of community work, and of course that junior program has won awards and been quite rightly sort of celebrated right across Australia. It's they do an incredible job. We first covered it on In Pit Lane probably way back in the days when it started, and it's
Yep.
still going strong. And God, how would you have any idea of how many kids have gone through that
Oh,
program since it started?
that's a tough question. I know that we've turned over about 2,500 members in the journey. As far as the junior kid stuff, it has to be in the hundreds, without a
It'd
doubt.
have to be, yeah. Just in
Hundreds.
terms of the time, it'd have to
Great
be.
stuff.
Yeah, so what we do is we run a full program where we've got literally first timers as opposed to sort of what we call sort of experienced juniors. And we get kids turning up which have never even sat in the driver's seat before. And we put them in a manual, and by the end of the day, they're stopping and starting and driving. And then they progress through a bit more of the driver training and stuff. And then they end up going, we have this like a clear progression up to running into motor carners, which is kind of the first real entry level motorsport for kids, and we have them doing that from when they're 12.
And we can watch them, enjoy them doing the bunny hops to start off with until they get used to it.
Exactly right. But the best thing about that from a community point of view is once they've done this transition of like all the motorsport stuff, by the time they hit 18 and go in to get their license and become road users, they've got 6 years worth of advanced driving control under their belt. And
True.
it's
Wonderful.
my son's going through that as we speak, and he's recently got his learners, and he's far and wide a better driver than I was when I turned 16. So, and it's all due to the junior program and all the experience they learn in that.
Yeah, I think of those of us who are lucky to have grown up in sort of quiet outer suburban or country areas. Doc was probably the same. I don't know about Richard, but I was sort of driving. I was driving Dad's car down to the shop when I was 12, sort of thing, because nobody worried about it back in those days. And by the time I
Yeah,
jumped into actually get my license, it wasn't the great. Oh my God, I'm in a car. It was like literally walking down the street. So.
yeah,
We don't have that nowadays. So this is a great opportunity if you've got kids who are coming up to getting their license, joining a car club, any car club, but particularly one with a junior program like Pakenham Auto Club, is a bloody good idea, and it should be encouraged more, and it should be supported more by both Motorsport Australia and the government and the police and just about everybody else. Hey Anthony, thanks a lot for joining
you're
us.
welcome.
By all means, if you need to head off, we understand. If not, you can sort of hang around and have a chat about Formula One and supercars and other nonsense. But in the meantime, thanks for coming in, and
No problem
good
at all. I'd
luck
love
with
to
the.
hang around, but I can't. But you guys, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, we just appreciate any support we can get down at Pakenham because we love supporting the community. So again, thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Great
Thanks,
stuff.
guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Hopefully, should be able to catch up with you on the day. Have a good one, mate.
See you later.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, well, yes, that's really good. It's good to see car clubs getting involved. Well, now from the sublime to the gore blimey, let's talk Formula One. Let's talk the Japanese Grand Prix and the car that nobody could drive and was like not going to be competitive and terrible, absolutely terrible thing. Got up and won. Surprise, surprise.
That's a
So.
bit harsh on the sour steak. That's a little bit rude. How do you trying their best at the moment? Come on.
But
Well, it is a bit of raw meat, that sour steak, isn't it?
yes, yes, it's that's a bit rough. But yeah, I mean, how good is Max Verstappen that he can actually? I mean, he's set pole. He's
Start
basically
to
been in
finish.
control all the way. And we can get onto the McLaren stuff in a second. But Pete, you obviously had a good look at it there. What's your takeaway from the Japanese Grand Prix?
Well, I think the Red Bull was competitive. It was up there for podium finishes, but the race itself was a procession. Um, um, yes, good on Max. He's got pole and then won the race. As for Yuki, like I feared, it was the same result that they were going to get with Liam, really, at the back of the grid. Um, and it was. It seems that well, it seems that what's going to happen is that unfortunately Liam was the pioneer, and so I think what they'll do is they'll keep Yuki, regardless of his results. They'll keep Yuki in the car, um, and just and they won't say publicly. They won't say it publicly that it's the car. They'll find another scapegoat, and they'll keep Yuki for the rest of the season at least. I think.
Yeah, that seems to be the go. I mean, it looked fairly encouraging, sort of in the first couple of free practice sessions. It looks like, oh, okay, they've made a good decision here, but ultimately in the end he didn't do that much better than Liam. I mean, Liam would be very happy to have got through the weekend sort of unscathed and. Did a reasonable job. So hopefully he's there's somebody who didn't end up unscathed was Jack Doohan, who put it in very, very hard. Doc and I were waiting to go into the
Brett, we were, weren't we, mate? Brett and I were
waiting to go into
meandering.
the media.
We're meandering around the outside MCEC, weren't we, with Jason and the three of us, and we were just sort of touching on, that's right, the free practices on. That's right, we better have a look.
Yeah.
And
Well, Jason found the thing.
Because I was working. You said to me, I've been flat out all day. Have you seen it? And I said, no.
Have you seen this? And so he showed me, and then I showed you. So, and then we showed pretty much all the other, some of the other media that was there, and it was a big whack. Now the worrying thing for Jack is, apparently he was obviously very sore. He went in at 50 G. I mean that's a hell of a whack, and he was very, very, very sore boy the next day. And
even after
the
race,
thought going around at the moment is that whether he's fit or not, that he might be sort of given the chance to rest up for this weekend, which would be an opportunity to put a guy called Colo Pinto or something into his car.
A Pinto? Pinto's went into the Ford Escorts. I think that's the wrong brand. Anyway, that's it. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Flavio Briatore will be very considerate of Jack Doohan's health and insisting that no, Jack, you can take a weekend off, and we'll have Colapinto in this weekend.
Yes, I would think so.
I think
we also. Sorry, go, Pete.
I think even the FIA will be considerate of Jack's health because at the end of the race, he could hardly hold up his whichever arm it was. I can't remember which arm it was, left or right, and he had to be supported out of the car.
Actually, Esteban Ocon pretty much helped him to get out of the car. He saw him struggling, and he sort of ran over and helped him out. But apparently, it was a real struggle for him to get out. So I mean, full credit to him. I mean,
I think you're all missing the biggest health concern of all from the whole weekend, which is usually up Richard's and my alley, was that Isaac Hadjar had a couple of nuts that were a bit loose in the cockpit, and his seat belt was helping him along to a certain extent, and therefore it needed a bit of adjustment, and it was tightened up the wrong way, and he's in a bit of a painful position there for a fair stint. So I think that's the biggest concern from the weekend, was health wise rather than 50 Gs. Anyway, and he managed to be able to put it into 7th. So at the time,
he's looking.
Considering he was giving himself considering he was giving himself a rather delicate veterinarian procedure over the course of the
wheel
weekend.
job.
That was really quite impressive, toughing his way out of that one into that 7th position.
Well, luckily you didn't find the wall with that.
That's right, absolutely, Richard. I'm glad that keeps recording it. I reckon he's been to the supermarket buying that lucky version of the crushed nuts, which is the most popular.
Well, he'd be Can you help me out of the car? Or can you help
Good
me out
point.
of the car?
And on Sunday morning,
And
on Sunday before the race, the seat was moving around as well.
I don't go all serious on us, Peter. Jesus.
Well, no, Peter's unlike you two.
Sounds like you've got some real concern there.
Unlike you, Clowns, I mean, Peter's a serious journalist. I mean, and that's the fact. I mean, it is a serious problem. And remember, I mean, the serious side of it is, of course, that
No more
because
fun.
of something that was quite similar happened in supercars. Of course, that's actually where Tom Randall found out about his testicular cancer was because of that sort of thing. Because he said, "This is yes, I know it's sore, but this is over the top." And thankfully, got things checked out and probably saved his life. So. Yeah, so hopefully there's no problems for Isaac there, but they'll need to. I'm sure they're working on that, and yeah, that would be very unpleasant.
What, the
sort of thing.
massage part or the seat?
Whatever. Okay, let's go to McLaren. What did they, Pete? Do you reckon they made the right decision?
It's difficult to know because in the straights, Lando was getting away from Oscar, so it's difficult to know whether they made the right decision.
Did any of you watch the 20-minute press conference from the driver's briefing afterwards, like I did?
No,
No. What happened, Doc?
Who said yes then? Who
did.
said yes then? Someone said yes.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so in other words, Brett, you'll agree with me then. Oscar pretty much conceded when they were going through, and Max got most of the session, even though he didn't want to talk much at first. He seems to be able to slot into it and give his words more flavour. But Oscar pretty much said that, look, even if they had us, because he got pestered by the media over it, if they had us swapped us over, I don't think I necessarily had the. I may have been able to catch him, but not necessarily getting. He mentioned it a few times, dirty air, that I would have been in it, and not necessarily it wouldn't have made any difference, and we would have had to do the redress thing. So, look, that girl, what's her name, Laura Winters, and a few other ones, even Tom Clarkson, a few of others, all brought it up and said, "Oh, look, they should have. They've had proprietary rules in the first race in Australia. Why didn't they do it?" But to a certain extent, I think the best it's been put to bed by Oscar himself. They could have swapped us, but I don't think I would have made any inroads. In all honesty, and that's pretty coming from the horse's mouth.
Well, we know that. I mean, we know that it's obviously very, very hard to pass the Suzuka because there was virtually no passing on the track at all. So it would have been hard to get by. But I think that the thought was that perhaps Oscar might have at least pushed Max and hopefully pushed him into some sort of mistake. Was what Lando was. It was a smart drive by Lando. I mean, he got within a certain percentage and then went, okay, I'll just ease it off a little bit. I'll save my tyres and then perhaps have another push. If something goes wrong at Max's end with his tyres, I'll have another push towards the end. But nothing went wrong with Max's tyres. Max was totally in control, and he just went on for a fabulous win.
Well, he said five. They asked him, "When do you think you had it won?" And Max can be very Max-like at times, very overconfident. And he said, "Yeah, about 5 laps to go." He said, "I knew I had it in the bag."
So, yeah,
the tire.
So right.
At that point. So,
Yeah.
and Honda got a home win, just not with the preferred driver.
Yeah, well, that was another thing that went over well. Obviously, it was an emotional win for Honda. And it's probably the last one they're going to get for a while, you would think. So depending on what happens at Aston Martin, but at this stage, they'd be very, very happy to get that another win at that last win at their hometown Grand Prix. So and I mean the crowd was massive, and it was another successful. But of course, this weekend they're back in the Middle East after Ramadan, and so we're going to see them racing this weekend, and so we don't have
Yeah.
much of a. It's a
Qatar.
massive weekend of motorsport. If you got
Well,
nothing else to
MotoGP's,
do,
speaking Middle East, MotoGP's in Qatar, so that's Middle East as well.
MotoGP's in Qatar. You've got World Superbikes are happening. You've got European GT World Challenge Europe at Paul Ricard. You've got long. Long Beach for both IMSA and the Indy cars, of course, and also some Formula 5000s. I hope we'll get to. We won't see it live, I imagine, but it is an anniversary at Long Beach, the anniversary of the Long Beach Grand Prix, and of course the first ever Long Beach Grand Prix was for Formula 5000s, and apparently so they're going to pay tribute to those cars with some demonstration laps, and I think even a race for 5000s and a few of the other earlier cars as
Do it
well.
on the old circuit. Do it on the old Long Beach circuit.
Yeah. I wonder if
Yeah,
Geordie
Jared's
will get
saying-
his car out again.
Yeah, let's see if he's over there. Yeah, so Jared's saying
I'll have
Max
to give
got
him
the
a
most
call.
out of Red Bull. McLaren need an alternative strategy. Maybe use Oscar to pressure Max and then Lando back the points. Well, that's what the argument that. That's the argument that was used by a few of the journalists there, is that they could have said Lando, let you do what you're doing fine, but let Oscar through, and then say to Oscar, go hell for the leather, and if you can force him into a mistake, or then that's fine. But I don't think Max was going to be in any mistakes. He was just totally.
No
in
one can
control.
force. No one can force Max into a mistake. I don't think.
Lewis Hamilton was I guess, the prime example of an attempt at the alternate strategy, and it didn't do him any favors. And in the end, he came home in what was
Choice
it,
of rubber,
eighth
Jonesy?
place. Yeah, it was a different. What was it? He started the race on softs, I think, or was it hards? Was it the other way around?
Hards, Jonesy. Yeah.
Yeah, hards. Yeah. So tried to go a bit longer, but in the end, it was. It didn't work out. So I'm.
I think it was a good idea, Jonesy.
Yeah.
Please elaborate a bit more, because at a different circuit it might have worked, because you could see
Yeah.
once he got a lap or two and got that tyre temperature up and he got the longevity out of it. I think what was against him, and as you said, it was a good choice of an alternative strategy to give it a go, but Suzuka, the lack of passing. So if he had been able to get a couple of cars there in the earlier laps anyway, and then he was going, longer, and was able to extract a lap time that was probably the old undercut for himself, going long, he might have been able to gain a few positions, but because of the track positioning and the lack of passing that Brett mentioned before, it was always going to be difficult, especially with the pitting.
Yeah, it's a great track, Suzuka, but it is virtually impossible to pass. There are a couple of spots, but no one was close. No one was close enough.
Centre Cross chicane. Of course, they don't call it that. But,
Yes.
Yeah, that's famous.
Yeah, it's very, very, very famous. But anyway, so that was so we'll see them in action again this weekend. You weren't with us. Doc wasn't with us last week. I've got down in the ticker that the FIM are calling for some
huge news last week.
Yeah, some investigations and perhaps a bit of discussion over their regulations, because it was on at about sort of 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning Australian time, the US MotoGP, and it was to say the least pretty chaotic at the start there, and quite farcical to have a look at when you have,
it was actually a coercive plan, and it was fully admitted by a MM afterwards, pretty much within 24 hours. So sorry I couldn't join us the last couple of weeks, but work and sleep have definitely been second priority to our new show, The Tune Up, which we'll talk a little bit more later. So I've been putting a bit of extra time into that with Brett. So therefore, Full Course Lieto suffered. However, look, it came down to it was a bit of to and fro on what the weather was going to be like leading up to the race. Pretty much went bang on the sighting lap, warm up lap that you could have gone either way. They all went out on wet tyres because it even rained significantly in the Moto2 race leading up to it, and the track was still had some pools of thing. But there was also a great airflow at a rate of knots going across it, which therefore dried it out. And what Mr. Marc Marquez had done, despite we all know now he crashed out of it and he didn't win the race, Paco Bagnaia did. What he did is he must have got whispering in a few of the other riders' ears and coerced them and said, right, this is the deal. We're all going to go out. We're going to do all our preparation like we normally do. When we hit the track, we're all going to be pretty much everyone's decided to be on, whether it be a team-based or rider-based or combination. We'll be out there on our wet weather tyres. But he knew his rules, or someone within his team obviously had worded him up. If I was to run off the track and go back to my second bike and start from the pit lane, fair enough, I'm stuck behind that line. But if 10 or more riders do it, well, then they have to red flag it and they have to restart the whole and reset from the start. So what he did is if I do it, jump off my bike and I run to it, if everyone follows suit, well, then we can all jump onto slick tyres together and we get a full reset. So that's exactly what happened. He coerced, and the other guys admit he did it too. And so that's exactly what he did, and that's how they got out of that whole thing. Because, like, as far as a commentator goes or a spectator, it's like, oh, look, what's going on here? What? A couple of riders, are they going to do? Are they not? Oh, they've red flags. So it was, but Mark knew exactly what he was doing, and sort of, it was almost a driver's coercion. So anyway, that's what it all happened. And the funny thing was, he crashed out in the race, and he tried to continue on, but he'd lost a foot peg, and he had his leg dangling off it, and so that's the other thing. Also, though, too, another controversial thing, though, that Brett reminded me of in the ticker is that there's a bit going on as far as team principles go and the rules behind testing. So Jorge Martin, as we spoke about back at Full Course Yellow, back at the start of the season during testing, crashed out and did some significant damage to his foot. He broke his foot, broke at least a couple of fingers in the hand, I think I reported, pretty much straight away, and had needed further surgery as well too down the track for shorter rehabilitation. So what there's specific rules for teams, especially whether you're high up there and haven't got any concessions, on whether you can ride and do testing leading up to your first race. So what the Ducati satellite team wanted to do with Jorge Martin, they wanted to give him extra testing. So they put to the association that to change the rules so that way they could get him to be able to do some testing time at a circuit, whether it be at home or leading up to wherever they were going to race. And they went and they put it to the riders meeting and the teams meeting, and it got knocked back. But then when it got knocked back, the team principal, I forget his name now, I did have it on my tip of my tongue a couple of days ago, said, Ducati have, coerced the other teams into it and overruled it and blah, blah, blah. This is not, why can't we should be able to let these riders ride. He's got no practice. It's all about safety, and they tried every trick in the book and every sort of swivel technique to get it to happen so Jorge could ride, and then bagged the Ducati factory team principal and said, you vetoed it. Anyway, so it goes on record. I can't remember, the Ducati factory team manager said, as a matter of fact, I actually said yes to it. So you can actually blame a couple of the other teams that actually said no to it, because I said yes to it. I was allowing it. So thanks for bagging me out completely in public, but you're completely wrong, and go sit where it fits and where the sun doesn't shine. So there's a bit of to and fro going on behind the scenes at the moment.
We'll see that Jorge Martin is coming back for this weekend. So we'll see whether that did any good or not. So so it was just a bizarre race at US Grand Prix, but didn't see any of it, and sort of watched a few highlights a couple of days later, and sort of saw what after reading about what happened, and it looked very strange. But obviously the FIM are going to have a look at those rules and see whether they're still suitable or not. Let's go on. We've had before we started the program, Richard brought up a situation at the state level. We had the state series out at Calder Park a couple of weeks ago. The fields were, in most categories, as I think we said last week, were very, very much down in most classes, and it looks like the economic situation is hitting everything, including the excels. I mean, Richard, you were saying that there are some problems with we're used to seeing massive fields down here for the excels,
Yeah.
but what's happening?
Well, I'm not. Well, there's the Dunlop Destiny series, which is aimed largely at the as one of the step ladders for younger drivers to go up, but there were insufficient cars entered in that to start the season. Then we went on to the state round at Calder, I think it was at Calder, which my car's not ready. Um, and yeah, insufficient cars, so they didn't make a grid there. And this weekend, I believe they're meant to be running at Winton, and it's already been not insufficient cars to make a grid, so no excels at Winton for
That's
the club round.
incredible
My goodness.
when you consider
Three,
how
three races in a row.
yeah, 3 races in a row. When you consider how the massive fields that they
What's the
had
cutoff?
for,
You don't
for
mind me asking. What is it? 15 or 20 or something? Or
Well, I think it must be about 15 because I think they had about 11 for a state round or something, and they considered that insufficient.
right?
So,
so
that was all a bit
what do you
disappointing.
what do you
really.
think's causing? I mean, we've seen this.
I think it's
we
a
men-
combination of things.
Yep.
So I think it's a combination of things. One, that it's now a feeder category, and so you're getting a lot of younger guys going, okay, I've made it in Excels, and disappearing, and insufficient new numbers coming up. Then you've got a whole lot of people who have limited budgets. Well, I mean, like end of last year, my times would have put me, say, 2 or 3 years ago, halfway up the grid. All of a sudden, there's no other back half of the grid, so I'm still at the back. So you've got a lot of faces and cars, which I remember, I've seen up for sale, and they're not turning back up on the grid. Oops, that's a
Yeah,
problem as well.
I noticed quite a few cars for sale, and some of them good value too. Though I saw one,
Yeah.
basically race ready to go, like for turnkey $8,000. Had all the bits, the right bits in it. So yes, I saw another one which was like $22,500. But if you just want to get behind a wheel, they're still cheap. Jonesy, what's the situation up in Queensland? They're still getting the numbers up there, are they?
Well, actually, I can't really say anything about that at the moment because I have yet to attend a race meeting in the season 2025. That will change in a couple of days' time. Queensland Raceway is running this weekend. Unfortunately, while I'm without personal transport, Morgan Park is a little bit too far away for me. Yeah, I haven't been able to catch up to see what's going on. I haven't seen an entry list for this weekend, but XLs are on the menu this weekend. But yeah, this is going to be a question for that I can answer next week rather than today.
Maybe
Yeah,
just
because
a general
we mentioned
consensus on
at the
all
start
categories.
we mentioned at the start of the year that this was happening quite regularly in speedway racing. It also happened even with a couple of drag meets as well. One category that there was no problems with in terms of numbers was GT4 down at Phillip Island on the weekend, and watching that on television, I was sort of flicking between. It was a big weekend on 7 Plus, or a big Sunday on 7 Plus, because you had GTs from Phillip Island, the SRO Speed Series, Channel Speed Series down at Phillip Island on one part of 7 Plus, and then you could flick over and watch the Riverbend Nationals, the drag racing from the Bend also. And congratulations, Damien Harris, who set a new Australian ET and speed record there. That is an amazing track. It's probably the best prepared, fastest drag strip in the world right now, because some of the times that the local top fuelers are running would put them up at the point, up towards the pointy end of the NHRA in the United States, and that hasn't happened for a long time. So, congratulations to Sam and all the team out at the Bend, and they've done a fabulous job of getting that track up and running. So that was great.
Sticky.
But down at Phillip, yeah, very very sticky, very smooth, very consistent. But
A
down at
fast
Phillip
ball,
Island,
as the swimmers like to say.
very much. But down at Phillip Island, we had GT3, which was a reasonable sort of, okay sort of field. But
Yeah, 16.
GT, yeah,
But they
but
lost one early on because unfortunately the 111 Mercedes was had incurable gearbox problems. So unfortunately, fresh back from the Middle East, Axel Donaldson and Darren Curry were unable to get their Mercedes into the qualifying sessions.
we had and then we had the Mechachrome GT4 Championship, and that was a very impressive field, and it looked like
29.
yeah, it looked like there's more still to come, and lots of we had lots of variety there. We had, of course, the usual suspects in BMW and McLaren and some of the Mercedes AMGs and that sort of thing. But also Tony Quinn debuted a Supra, a GT4 Supra.
Yes.
We had a return of the Ginetta, which
Two different
was,
models.
Yeah, so
Had the
that was,
V6 and the V8.
and the V8. So so great to see those cars out there, and the racing was, and of course the Mustangs. We saw a couple of new Mustangs.
Yes, 3
there
in
as
total. I
well.
think they're on the grid, wasn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, so
One got a bit
fabulous.
bent, unfortunately, but yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. So it looked like a good crowd.
Oh,
too.
and an Audi R8,
Yes, Audi R8 in GT4.
which was
so
right up
That
at the
wasn't
pointy end of the
the
field.
GT4, yep.
Yeah,
So,
the young Blake Purdy, a South Australian former second generation supercarder who's spent some time in Formula the S5000s and a couple of other categories. He's moved over into GT4, and yeah, he's made it. In fact, it was quite impressive because to see a couple of young drivers being instant successes in GT4 because Blake Purdy had the win on Sunday. We saw Max Gagan, grandson of, taking the victory on the Saturday race. So there was.
And,
I must admit, sort of Richard Crail and Tom Randall were talking about sort of just how impressive Max Gagan is. I have to agree with that in terms of the way he handles me. I spoke with Max last year out at Sandown when he was running in the Toyotas when he signed with the junior development deal with Erebus. And he was just so professional in terms of how he presented himself. He asked lots of questions beforehand. What angle do you want to run at in terms of this interview? What sort of things do I need to know? And so he could, if he didn't know, he could go and ask someone before the interview happened. Was very switched on. Was very comfortable in front of a camera. And I think if he continues with this quality of driving, I don't think it'll be all that long until we at least see him in Super 2, and then probably beyond that, because he's very impressive.
unfortunately, what Jonesy brought up right at the start of our evening is the GT3 behind me. Unfortunately, it wasn't down there, but that was apparently due to a couple of reasons, which I think are both linked and related to each other. Was one, lack of funding, or two, lack of a co-driver, which might have had something to do with the lack of funding. So anyway,
Doc,
yeah.
I was just saying, Doc, is that Mike Bailey's old car? Or Mike Bailey's car?
I don't know because there's it is or it isn't, Jonesy?
Yeah, I think it is. I think from memory.
Yeah, that is
Still is. Still is, yeah. So that's obviously to be on display at the motor show that Brett and I went to on Friday night. Had to be obviously pre-planned a long time ago because people were saying, "Oh, why wasn't it entered? Was it a last-minute pull-out for Phillip Island?" Well, if you put the cards all, if you put the dominoes where they should be, well, it obviously was wasn't going to be entered for a long time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on display at the motor show, would it?
And
So
right alongside that car, of course, in wonderful bare carbon fibre when we saw it on Friday night, getting ready to be wrapped live over the weekend was a GT3 Ferrari as well, which was a beautiful thing. Although the guy who wrapped it was speaking to Jason and I while you were off chasing some other people, Doc, and he was sort of going through how they were so difficult to wrap, because he said they had so many sort of little aerodynamic flips and bobs and weaves and little removable panels and all sorts of things. He said it was going to take him it was going to take him the entire 2 days of the motor show to actually do it. And the motor show, we have to say, the motor show was actually
just before you run away from that subject, Brett, Channel 7 did do a segment on the news on Saturday night. So, yeah, there was a little few seconds of him wrapping it at the time, as well as some of the other things that we caught up with ourselves. But, yeah, did see a couple of few seconds of him. They quickly grabbed him as he was sort of on the ground wrapping a part of the quarter or something like that. So, yeah. And there was a couple of more things that we didn't see on Friday night also that made the news segment on the Saturday too.
Yeah, I think that was the only problem. I mean, obviously it was the first one. We spoke with Craig Finn, who was the CEO, the general manager of the motor show, the guy who basically started up, and we'll put that up on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel very soon. It's just we did have some issues again. I've now decided that the great iPhone capturing experiment is now well and truly over, because there was too much footage that we simply couldn't use because it just wasn't up to broadcast standard. Even though we're not broadcasting at the moment, I still can't put up a lot of it, and I'm just waiting to get some time to put Jason's stuff up, because Jason was running around with a proper camera, and I didn't get his stuff until today because he's been working. So later on in the week probably we'll have some stuff from the Melbourne Motor Show, and yeah, it was interesting, and certainly the upside was in the interview. Craig was saying that yes, it was. They've basically already planning for next year, and it's going to be bigger, and
Off camera, I got some admissions out of him, didn't I, Brett? So I had a chat to him afterwards, because after the diplomacy of the camera was turned off and the regular question time, I said to him just a couple of things. I said, fantastic, congratulations. I didn't blow wind up him or anything, but I said, it looks good. Looks like a good basis for a start, which Brett and I conceded as well too. However, I said, oh, look, I said, because my apologies. He actually got off camera and he said to me, oh, what do you think of it, and what do you think we could improve? He actually said that question to me. I said, well, you've got Kia here, and I said you've got a lot of the regular everyday type brands, and MG were bragging during their speeches. They all got 7 minutes to 20 minutes to do their launches, basically, which was supposed to be only 7, but some of them went to 20. And I said, you've got a lot of the everyday. MG said, we're focused on the market at the moment on be able to sell a vehicle to a person with every $10,000 price range, or we want it affordable for every person out there to be able to buy a new car at the moment, which I think is a great concept, because that hasn't been going around since the 80s. Everyone's just done their own thing. So I said to him, you've obviously got Kia here, you've got MG here, blah, 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 blah. I said, if you want that sort of broad spectrum of the market, you need Hyundai. And he says, yeah, we were really, really close. We're that close to it. He said, not quite. He said, they just sort of didn't quite get over the line with us. I said, well, what about, BMW, sort of that sort of thing? He says, oh, look, they were interested too. He said, but they were honest to us, and they said, we're going to wait and see how you go this year, and we'll definitely be on board next year if you make a fist of it and success.
Yeah, I think Ford are in a similar boat as well. I mean, he said that certainly on the Saturday there were quite a few. Car companies, marketing divisions coming out to have a look at it. And as I said to him, judging by the fact that they sold out tickets for both Saturday and Sunday, you would imagine that they'd be wandering around if they saw the sort of crowd there that they were expecting.
When I mentioned Audi, he says not a chance. He said,
Yeah,
he
they
said
got no
we threw
money.
something at him. We threw a token invitation. He said, but we knew what he expected exactly what the answer be is. We're broke. We've got no money. Sorry, they knew the answer before they even sent it.
By the way, thanks, Lidgy, for your support. Really appreciate it. Jared saying the of course what Australia is really short of at the moment is of course one make race series, and of course we're getting another
Are we?
one now.
Yes,
Really?
absolutely.
A
The XL
Mustang
driver.
Dart
Yeah,
under development for
affordable one
26.
make series.
A
Yes,
nice affordable one, so no doubt. I mean, you'll be getting rid of the Hyundai fairly soon, Richard, and
absolutely.
you'll be
Oh,
popping
I'm
into
going for that Mustang.
that Mustang. I think they're what about 230,000
Richard,
or something.
come on, aim a little higher. Go the Ferrari 296. There's a good one make
Yeah,
series you can
Oh,
get into easily.
yeah.
So what?
look,
The
we still have
Ferrari Challenge.
we still have
Yay!
we still have Gemini racing up here in Queensland. If you want to make
I
the
Yes.
know.
ultimate progression in one make series,
Oh, I want
Yes.
to. Next time when you
Where
go
do
when
you
you
get
go
them
out.
from?
That's a
Yeah,
Gemini. That's a star sign, isn't it?
yeah. When you go out next time over the weekend, Mark. I mean, if you do the film with your phone, we need some shots of some Gemini's racing again. Just
funnily enough, this weekend at Queensland Raceway is the Marco Jones Memorial 1 hour race, which is a combined HQs and Gemini
Gemini.
1 hour co-driver
Oh, that
race.
could be scary.
Oh.
I'm going to hitchhike up to Queensland just to see that.
Well, I reckon
Well, they've raced
don't
together
go
for
up
a
to have a
long time. The HQs, of course, are a marginally quicker car, but the Geminis have marginally better tyres. So
Back like
they're
the old Piranha bloody damn old Falcon days again. There
well,
we
yeah,
go.
they make a brilliant race each and every year when that's on the Geminis versus HQs.
Is that all different models of Gemini's from the old school type shape to the modern little
Uh,
poor man's Commodore style?
Well, no, you tend to be two body shapes. The like the 2 door and 4 door version of the original Gemini
Okay.
with that forward like the what's a good backslash shaped front end, and then the second generation Gemini, which had the forward slash shaped front end, 4 doors of those, and that's it. There's like the 2 door, the version of that later Gemini was never sold in Australia, although it
Sorry,
was raced at Bathurst.
I do have to correct myself. It wasn't the poor man's Commodore. It was the poor man's Chimera. The Chimera
Yeah.
was the poor man's Commodore, and the Gemini was the poor man's Chimera.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
mind you, the Chimera, by the time the Chimera came along, the Gemini was winding down and was a bit starting to get a bit long in the tooth. But that was
The problem they've
the
got is,
but
as Roy is pointing out, and this is the problem HQs have got as well. And I have no doubt it will possibly even become a problem for the XL guys as well. As Roy
I know
saying,
what you're going to say.
yeah, they're not poor man's Commodores anymore. Rusted out Geminis are getting, in decent examples, they're going for up to $30,000. That's road, and that's what's happening with a lot of with quite a few of the HQ race cars. Is people are coming and asking, offering silly amounts of money for them. They're saying, oh, you want to go racing, and it's like, hell no, we want to gut the thing and turn it back into a road car because that's where all the money is.
Yeah.
Quickly before we jump subjects again, remember, sorry, Brett. I think
we're talking about
I don't know if
Mustang,
you can.
Mustang one make series.
Yeah,
Oh,
one
yeah,
Yeah,
one
go
well,
on,
make
Doc.
shift.
what's really to say though? Is it's just going to happen? Simple as that.
Yeah, very much so. Roy's saying he had a few. He had 4 of them between the ages of 15 and 25. That says
They
either
rusted that quickly.
yeah, that says something about either the quality of the car or the quality of your driving, Roy.
Brett,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can bring this up. This is my first time at going. It's something sharing some media. I don't know if you've got it on the bottom of your screen here. Let me see if it works for me.
Uh,
Will it? No, won't kick in. No,
um,
damn it.
No, it was
Gone.
up. It was up, Doc, but it seems to have
Oh,
disappeared. I
I'll
know
bring it
what
up
you.
again then.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what.
I'll bring it up
Yeah,
How
again.
long?
bring it up.
How long have you been waiting to use that pun, Brett?
Hey.
What's up, Doc?
Oh,
Yes.
no, I didn't. I didn't get
You
the.
wascally wabbit, you.
Yes.
Be very, very quiet.
Very quiet. We're hunting Elmers.
Oh,
Yeah. What Doc is talking
all
about
right,
is
yeah, I got it
a
again.
couple of
Here,
things.
here we
Because
go.
if it pops up again, it's
Oh, I've
not
got it. There
popping
you
up.
go. I should be. That should.
It's not
That
popping up
should
at the
just. Fill.
moment, Doc. But anyway, if it does,
No,
but
it's
what Doc is
uh,
talking about, there we go. Hang
off
on a
screen.
second.
It is popping up.
Ha-
If I could just without going too
Hang
much
on a
into detail.
second. Hang on.
Have
I
I? Have
will.
I?
Well, it's
Has
got
it
two
popped?
rating if it keeps popping up too often.
There you
Exactly.
go.
I knew there we
Okay,
go.
so what Doc is talking about is this Sunday, and the weather looks encouraging because they've had a terrible time trying to get this race meeting done for the last several months, and something has always got in the road to stop them at the last minute. It's the Australian Drag Boat Nationals down at the Water Sports Centre at Carrum. If you've ever had the opportunity, if you think that I don't know whether, I don't think they've got a top fuel boat, but I do think there may be some a blown, at least one blown hydro there, possibly the one that we see in the top of the thing there. But if you've ever had the opportunity to see and hear a top fuel drag boat over the liquid quarter mile, imagine 10,000 horsepower going through a prop, and just the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life, quite possibly. And that's happening this weekend down at the National Water Sports Centre at Carrum, so it's very close by to Melbourne. Really good day. They've had a really tough time, particularly since COVID. But they've struggled. It's very hard to find suitable venues for them to race at.
Same as the Pakenham Auto Club, Brett. $10 admission down the bottom there. It says too. Children under 16 free.
Yeah, so it's a cheap day out. It's certainly worth going down there. I haven't heard back from them yet, but certainly, depending on sort of our situation and my health
Don't
and all the
mention
rest
my
of it.
name, and we'll probably get full admission and accreditation. Yeah, because it's I used to be associated with this some sort of racing, and trust me, I've done a lot of damage to myself. Fortunately, not to other people, but despite being water, you think it doesn't hurt. Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah, well, we covered it. We covered it many years ago, and we were lucky enough on one occasion to have a top fuel hydro. There is at least one in Australia at the moment, but I don't know. I haven't heard that it's coming down. I imagine they would have, if it had been coming down. I imagine they would have plugged it pretty heavily, but it'll still be some very fast, some really good boats there. Also, speaking of drag racing, I'll also tell you that this Friday night, please join us for the opening round of the new Summit Victorian Roll Racing Championships. They're happening at Calder Park. The traditional drag racing will happen as usual. That'll start at 6 o'clock. It'll go through till about 8 or 8:30. And from then on, we'll move into roll racing and this brand new series that does have some prize money and will go right throughout the year, and was backed by Summit Automotive Equipment. They're going to they've got on board, jumped on board. Roll racing hugely popular out at Calder Park, and head out there. Gates open at 4:30 p.m. And if my voice and other health issues hold out, I will be. I'll be yelling at you over the microphone, as I'm in fact doing now. So that's coming up this Friday, the 11th of April, out at Calder Park Dragway. And also I saw just earlier, and I didn't pick it up. Here we are, Pro MX2. Round two at the Appin South, at Sydney, south of Sydney, Appin, south of Sydney, this Sunday on SBS in the Speed Week time slot. So if you're looking for some motocross action, that's happening on SBS this weekend, plus all those other things that are going on in terms of, and we got supercars at Taupo as well. We didn't even get around to them, so boy, so much to talk about.
We'll save all that funfare for next week with the supercars.
Just quickly,
I
Mark,
do want to jump in with a couple of things about because European Le Mans series started on the weekend just gone, and the Queen of all things W Series, Jamie Chadwick, popped up for the outright win at the 4 hours of Barcelona with her co-drivers Mathis Jobert and Daniel Juncadella, and in that Orica 07 that the LMP2s run. So yeah, fabulous to see that, and that's a strong field. Like there was drivers in the field like Tom Blomqvist, just for an example. Uh, uh, Theo Pacher, who's only just come out of Formula 2 and was a front runner in Formula 2 as well. So yeah, there's some plus the regulars that are at the pointy end of LMP2.
Also the Iron Dames won in LMG T3 as well. So it was a big weekend for
Yeah,
women drivers at that
Sarah Bovey,
particular.
Sarah Bovey, Michelle Gadding, and Celia Martin, who's the new third driver in the Iron Dames combination, racing Porsches this year after running uh,
Well,
running.
they ran the Porsches. They ran the Porsches last year
That's
in the
true, yeah.
ELMS, but the team was running Lamborghinis in the World Endurance Championship because it's all run through Iron Links, of course.
Well,
And
they've split up now. Their Iron Dames and Iron Links are no longer the same
no longer
team.
the same team, so they've got the Porsche, but it was a dominant win too. It was, I mean, it wasn't just they didn't inherit it at all. They raced really well, and that was of course live across the weekend as well.
Yeah, the
Grant
Aussies didn't go all that well in that series. In the
no.
series, like Garnet Patterson was well down the field in the GT3. Same with Griffin Peebles was sixth, I think, in LMP3, and James Allen was nowhere in the LMP2 Pro-Ams. But Michelin Le Mans Cup was also the same weekend, and Griffin Peebles was running both series over the course of the weekend, and he got up for a win. I think, he won LMP3 Pro Am in the Le Mans Cup, Michelin Le Mans Cup, and also George Nakas and Fraser Ross in were in the same class, the LMP3 Pro Am class, and they came home in third. So so that was
Yeah, so some
some
good racing there. So much there, as we said.
yeah.
IMSA about 7 o'clock, I think. Monday morning at the time, or seven might even be Sunday. But be watching the IMSA TV on YouTube over the weekend, and you'll see the next round of the North American Sports Car Championship that's happening
Go Matt
at
Campbell.
Long Beach. So so Matt Campbell and all of the teams in there. Also, good to know James Allen has got a drive in a GT drive. I can't believe that this guy, he's won, as I keep saying, he has won Le Mans, he has won Daytona, he has won the championship. He can't do anything else, and yet he really seems to be struggling because he doesn't have shitloads of cash. He's really sort of struggling to get. To get a consistent drive. Was driving for Romain Dumas' team, and they were trying to get a spot at Le Mans, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And I think that Romain out of the basically has sort of decided that okay, well, if I'm not going to if I can't race at Le Mans, I'm not going to bother at all. So. I don't know what's happened with that team, but whether we see it back in action at the next round of the World Endurance Championship, I doubt. And he wasn't. They weren't there they weren't there on the weekend for Le Mans, but that's for the for ELMS. Okay, hey, listen, guys, we've gone way over time tonight. Thank you to everybody for joining us again. Thank you to Anthony Frank from the Pakenham Auto Club. Now remember that coming up this weekend, for Good Friday. And yeah, as we said earlier, if you've got a race car out there, if you're in Melbourne, particularly over the eastern side of Melbourne, and you just want to take your car out and and have it seen by a lot of people and show your support for the Royal Children's Hospital Good Friday appeal, It sounds like it's going to be a really fun day. So, and take the family out. I mean, if you've always, want to put the kids in a car to do some sliding around on the dirt with a professional driver, with an experienced driver behind the wheel, take them out. Hand over your $10. It all goes to the Children's Hospital. It'll be a great day. So get out there and do that, because it is going to be an awful lot of fun.
We might see some donuts out there.
We might see all sorts of things. Not that I could eat them anyway.
Donuts.
Not the ones you eat.
No.
Or join me at Queensland Raceway
Yes.
for XL Cup, Supercarts, Historic Trans Ams, HQ and Gemini 1 hour race, replica tours,
That's where all the
Queensland
XLs
Track
have
Car
gone up to
Championship,
Queensland.
and Prod Sports. So
That's where they all went. They're all XLs are in Queensland at the
Yep,
moment.
they're all,
yeah.
They're all up there with.
they're all just
those other
drifting up
categories.
there.
So
Gone
we'll
to
find out,
Queensland heaven.
we'll find
Perfect
out
one
more
day,
about that
sunshine
next
in it.
week. Okay, everybody. Hey, listen,
Okay.
we've really got to go.
Gotta go.
Way over time now, so we'll catch everybody next week. Thanks for joining us on Full Course Yellow. Stay on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Oh, and as Doc said, this Friday, if you're in Melbourne, Friday, 8 p.m, Channel 31 Melbourne, our brand new weekly music show, The Tune Up, has its debut. Doc and I are hosting the first show together with our band, the Kitty Hawks, and they were sensational. Be watching Friday night at 8 o'clock.
Brett. Don't, not just the Kitty Hawks. There's more to come from where that talent pool comes from as well too.
Oh, we got some great band. We got some fabulous acts coming up. It's just the talent out there is just unbelievable. But that's coming up. But yeah, this week a ska band, great ska band. Lots of fun. They'll get you up and dancing. That's the Kitty Hawks, our featured band. This week on the Tune Up at prime time, 8 p.m. Friday night on Channel 31 Melbourne, and it's been confirmed. Was confirmed the other day. It hasn't been announced exactly when and where, but it will be going national on CTV Plus in a few weeks' time. So people right around Australia will be able to watch it as well.
Get hold of that, Tan. And so I'll just add, gather around your motorsport this weekend too. There's a lot of it.
That's
not
it.
just the
There
footies.
you go. Okay, everybody, we'll see you next week, and probably annoy you for another hour and 15 minutes. Okay, everybody, we'll